Hey frag heads and fragrance lovers, welcome back. It's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance channel coming back at you with another review. And today we're going to be talking about Ancient Amber from the house of Belyared. Now if you're not familiar with this house, they do some clones and some dupes, but they first started with making single note fragrances or notes with just one accord that are, that you can easily layer with one another or even other fragrances to create your own unique creation and your own unique smell. This one is based on amber, but it's a little bit unique, it's a little bit interesting, and I'm happy to tell you all about it today. So first off, it's called Ancient Amber. Now that makes me think of more of, ancient resin, like Baltic amber and those kinds of things. If you're familiar and if you've done your research, amber that's fossilized actually really doesn't have much of a smell to it at all. So, but they're trying to recreate that little bit of the smell in this fragrance, and I think they actually did a successful job with that. This is not your typical amber kind of fragrance that can be a little bit heavier. It can smell a little bit almost Play-Doh-like ambers from time to time when they're mixed with vanilla. Can have really interesting qualities about them. Sometimes they can even be slightly animalic. This amber is an accord that I have some sprayed on my hand, and I'll spray some more for the opening here. It's it has a little bit of sweetness, but then it has this interesting, like, almost like earthy spiciness, I don't know, like turmeric like or something. It's quite interesting. It has an interesting, like, light floral or deep floral. It's light in feel, but also in the smell, it seems like it's a little bit more of a dense, almost like rich amber smell. Uh, don't get confused. This is not a sweet amber or a gourmand amber. Nothing of the sort going on here. There's not really any sweetness to speak of to this. Uh, Rich vanilla wise. There's some natural sweetness, and that's what I'm talking about in this fragrance. There's just little nuances, and there's just little things that you can nitpick out of this fragrance. But it's really a single note. It might not seem that unique. It might not seem that different, but it's a pretty laid back and nice and amber. And if you're absolutely a big amber lover, and you adore amber, this is not going to smell the most natural, which is a negative, but it also, on the positive side, especially for this price range, this is quite a interesting and a little bit different of an amber smell. So there's some pros and some cons here, no doubt about it, but it's a nice smell, and I think it does have something a little bit more interesting than what you might just think is just a plain Jane amber fragrance, if you look into it and pay attention to the smell. Now, with the performance, I got anywhere from 5 to maybe 6 hours. This is a lighter amber scent, as in it like has a, it's lighter in, I don't know, it's just a fragrance that it becomes a little bit more dispersive. It becomes almost a little bit aromatic in its own way. It again, the smell is kind of deep, but the feel is still light overall. It's kind of it's this fragrance is kind of an enigma a little bit in its own way, but I think the projection is about average, and from what I can tell, the sillage is not very strong. So there's not a lot of sillage particularly, which I think is really the biggest strong suit with amber. I don't get a lot of sillage from this fragrance to me, which was a disappointment. But the performance is just okay. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it's average or maybe slightly below average. It does become a nice kind of like second skin scent as time goes on. Compliment factor wise, when I wore this fragrance just alone without mixing it with other fragrances, people thought I just had an interesting, kind of skin-like smell. They thought it was like my second skin. Maybe they thought I had been eating some interesting exotic foods recently, and that smell was coming through. Like if you eat a lot of curry, you can start to smell like curry. Maybe they thought that was going on. They're not familiar with amber. A lot of people around me, especially in more rural country areas, have no idea what amber would be or what amber would smell like. So they just thought it was my interesting natural skin-like smell. And to their credit, it kind of does come off that way a little bit. So I think that that's what you're going to get. It's a very, very safe fragrance. You could easily wear this to the office, or if you're a doctor, or any situation where you have to be particularly careful with your fragrances. This is certainly one that you could get away with for certain. With my price and my final thoughts, again, this, in my opinion, is a fragrance that's made for layering. Uh, you can wear this as its own standalone fragrance to be very subtle and very inoffensive. But I think that this fragrance is going to shine that if you really love amber and you really just want to add a nice little dose of amber to some of your fragrances, and you can create all kinds of different options. You know, for me, in my opinion, it's not really the best thing to layer two very distinctive fragrances. You can get away if the fragrances are similar, but I love to layer fragrance oils and maybe something like this that's a single note or a single accord to a fragrance, and change the fragrance a little bit and maybe make it suit my personality or suit how I'm feeling for that particular day. So if I'm ever feeling like I want a amber touch to my fragrance, if I ever want, maybe a fragrance needs a little bit more body, it needs to be a little bit more well-rounded, especially with citruses. This fragrance is wonderful for adding with citruses, because it can make it a little bit more well-rounded, give the citrus a little bit more body. And you can also get really good results with layering it with maybe a darker, deeper fragrance. It can you can lighten up and bring the fragrance up a little bit in tone without making it particularly citrusy, and it can make it a little bit lighter and bring the tone up a little bit, and make it so it's not so dark and not so heavy. So I think that that's what this what you can do with Ancient Amber. I think that that is what this is all about. This one is, if I remember right, a $35 fragrance for about 50 mils. I think that that's fair. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's exactly bad. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's a fair value. But again, this fragrance can be quite subtle. If you want beast mode, if you want 8 hours longevity and it's noticeable all day to, getting noticed in a big way. If you're a younger guy and you're trendy, definitely you probably still want to go for your Dior Sauvage. But if you want this, I think that this is an interesting option. I definitely think that this is worth considering for some of y'all out there. For me personally, it's not a big love. I personally prefer my attars and my fragrance oils over sprays. I love the added longevity and the sillage and the tone that mixing a spray fragrance with just an accord like a musk or an oil with an actual spray fragrance. That's how I like to go about it. But let me know, have you liked this fragrance? Have you tried it? Do you think it's worth its money? Baldessarini has a fragrance called Ombre. It's still out there. It's still not too expensive for what it is. I think the whole Baldessarini line, or most of them, have been discontinued as far as I know. I wouldn't pay more than, I don't know, $50 for Ombre by Baldessarini. But I think that that fragrance is beautiful, and for the 50 odd dollars for 100 mils, if you can still find a bottle, I definitely think that that is a beautiful, wonderful, modern amber fragrance for certain. So that would be my suggestion to you if you want a actual standalone amber fragrance for this kind of money. Amber fragrances usually can't be found on the cheap too easily. So hopefully I helped you out there with a fragrance alternative. Anyways, I'll wrap up this video. Nice offering, nice offering from Belyared. I was a little bit hesitant about this one, but I do think it's a decent, it's a pretty good fragrance from the offering. Not amazing, but it's pretty good. And I'll see you next time, my friends. Wear what you love, rock what you got, and if you did like my video today, please help me out and like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and tell a friend. And I'll see you next time, everybody, and bye.